Part 1. The Galactic Festival Authority had existed for 12,000 standard cycles. Every major species in the Milky Way contributed something to the rotating calendar of celebrations. They offered their symphony of bioluminescence, where entire populations synchronized their natural glow into planet-wide light shows. The crystalline hegemony hosted their resonance gatherings, harmonic vibrations that could be felt through ship hulls from orbit. The methane breathers of the collective created their famous fog sculptures, beautiful art that dissolved as quickly as it formed. All of it was ancient, all of it was beautiful, and all of it, the archivists privately admitted to each other, had grown predictable. When humanity's application arrived, the authority nearly rejected it automatically. Humans had only achieved faster-than-light travel 43 standard cycles ago. They were practically newborns by galactic standards. There was classified as a full of predators and natural disasters and extreme weather. What could such a young and violent species possibly contribute to a festival tradition that stretched back? But protocol demanded consideration of all applications. A delegation was sent to observe humanity's proposed contribution. The humans called it a carnival. Ambassador Al of the led the delegation. She was a respected diplomat, her long sensor fronds capable of detecting subtle chemical changes that revealed hidden emotions. As her shuttle descended toward a temporary structure on the human colony world of 442b, those fronds rippled with polite skepticism. The structure below was chaos. Lights strobed in no pattern she could recognize. Sound came from multiple sources at once, different types of music fighting each other across the open space. And the smells that hit her the moment the shuttle doors opened were overwhelming. "Ambassador," her aide clicked nervously, "my atmospheric filters are detecting at least 47 distinct organic compounds, mostly carbon-based sugars and lipids being subjected to extreme heat." Al understood after a moment. They are cooking, all of them, everywhere. A human woman met them at the entrance. Her name was Santos, and her title was Carnival Queen. This required 3 separate translation attempts before the delegation accepted it was not a governmental position. She wore a costume of bright feathers and shiny sequins that would have been considered dangerously flamboyant on at least 17 different worlds. Her smile was enormous and never faded. "Welcome to the Midway," she said, spreading her arms wide toward the chaos behind her. "Let me show you what humans do when we decide to have a good time." What followed was 7 hours that Al would later struggle to describe in any official report. Nothing made sense by the standards of proper galactic festivals. There were mechanical devices designed specifically to spin riders around, drop them from heights, and disorient their senses. Humans paid actual currency to experience these sensations. They screamed while the machines moved them, and then they laughed and got back in line to do it again. There were games of chance and skill set up in small booths. The games were rigged slightly against the player. Everyone knew this. Yet participants returned again and again, spending far more money than the prizes were worth. They seemed to find meaning in the struggle itself. There were performers who swallowed fire without burning. Others walked on thin cables high above the ground. Some bent their bodies into shapes that seemed anatomically impossible. The crowds cheered for all of them. And everywhere there was food. Not the nutritional optimization that most advanced species had adopted long ago. This was deliberate excess. Items were fried in hot oil until they turned golden. Everything was coated in sugar or salt or both. Food was served on wooden sticks for no logical reason. Things were combined in ways that both reason and several food safety regulations. Al watched a human child consume something called a deep-fried candy bar and felt genuine concern for the child's digestive system. But then she noticed something else. A tourist from the crystalline hegemony stood at one of the game booths, trying to throw metal rings onto glass bottles. The crystalline was failing badly. Instead of walking away in shame, as would be proper, it was being coached by a group of human children. The children showed it different throwing techniques. They cheered when it got close. When it finally landed a ring, everyone celebrated together, humans and alien alike. Nearby, a delegation of methane breathers moved carefully through the crowd in their environmental suits. A group of humans was teaching them something called the wave. The humans raised their arms in sequence, creating a ripple effect through the crowd. The methane breathers tried to copy them. They failed. Everyone laughed together and they tried again. Al had attended hundreds of galactic festivals. She had witnessed ceremonies that had been performed the exact same way for thousands of years. She had seen beauty that took her breath away. She had never seen species play together like this. "Ambassador," Santos appeared at her side, "would you like to ride the wheel?" The device was simple. A large vertical wheel rotated slowly, carrying small passenger compartments in a circle. It rose high above the carnival grounds before coming back down. There was no practical purpose to it whatsoever. Al agreed only because protocol demanded thorough investigation. The compartment rose slowly. The noise of the carnival faded as they climbed. The air grew cooler. And as they reached the highest point, Al found herself looking down at the entire scene below. From up here, she could see the patterns she had missed at ground level. Everywhere she looked, species that normally conducted carefully scripted diplomatic exchanges were instead doing something unprecedented. They were failing together, struggling together, laughing together, sharing food that was bad for all of them, trying to win prizes none of them needed, screaming on rides that served no purpose except to make them scream. They were connecting in ways that formal ceremonies never allowed. His voice came through the compartment speaker. "You see it now, don't you?" Al's sensor fronds had gone still, a sign of deep thought among her people. "What am I seeing?" "We humans spent most of our history separated from each other," said. "We had oceans between us, mountains, different languages. We fought wars over these divisions for thousands of years, but we also found ways to come together anyway. The carnival was one of those ways." The wheel continued its slow rotation, giving Al a constantly shifting view of the celebration below. "At a carnival," continued, "you could be a stranger in a strange town. You didn't know anyone, but for one night you belonged anyway. You ate the same terrible food as everyone else. You rode the same scary rides. You tried to win the same stupid prizes. And by the end of the night, the strangers around you felt a little less strange." Al understood now. The chaos was not a flaw, it was the point. "We figured the galaxy might need something like that too," finished. "A place where everyone can be imperfect together." The wheel completed its rotation and returned to the ground. Al stepped off the platform. Around her, 1,000 different species moved through the carnival lights. Some of them had been enemies in ancient wars. Some of them could barely breathe the same atmosphere. Some of them had cultural values so different that ordinary conversation was nearly impossible. Here, they were all just carnival goers. A human child ran past, chasing an adolescent. Both were laughing. There was holding a cone of something pink and fluffy. Cotton candy, the humans called it. It was pure spun sugar and had no nutritional value whatsoever. Al reached out and stopped the child gently. "Where can I get one of those?" The child pointed toward a booth. "Over there, but the blue kind is better than the pink kind, trust me." Al bought the blue kind. It dissolved on her tongue in a rush of sweetness. It was ridiculous. It was wonderful. Her report to the Galactic Festival Authority was uncharacteristically brief. "Approve immediately," she wrote. "Assign prime calendar position. Trust me on this." The authority approved the application. They did not yet understand what they had approved, but they would learn. Everyone would learn. Part 2. Within 3 galactic cycles, the human carnival circuit had become the most anticipated event on the Festival Authority's calendar. It was not merely popular. It was transformative. The logistics required to make this happen were enormous. The authority had to create an entirely new department just to coordinate with human carnival planners. This was because humans insisted on something that no other species had ever attempted before. They wanted to customize each carnival for its host world. This meant months of preparation before each event. Carnival engineers studied local gravities and atmospheric pressures to adjust ride specifications. Some species were stronger than humans, some were weaker, some could handle faster rotations, some could not. Every ride needed modifications. Culinary teams researched alien biochemistries to develop safe versions of classic carnival food. Cotton candy for the required different sugars that would dissolve properly on their tongue membranes. Corn dogs for the crystalline hegemony needed special coatings that their mineral-based digestive systems could process. The methane breathers required entirely sealed food preparation areas where nothing would contaminate their atmospheric requirements. Cultural liaisons interviewed local populations to identify which carnival traditions would translate and which needed careful adaptation. Some species found certain colors threatening. Some had religious prohibitions against specific sounds. Some considered direct eye contact during games to be deeply insulting. The humans learned all of this and adjusted accordingly. The first major off-world carnival was held on III. The human planners had noticed that they communicated partly through bioluminescence. Their bodies glowed in patterns that conveyed emotion. So the carnival on III became famous for its light-based attractions. There were holographic houses of mirrors that created infinite reflections of visitors' glowing patterns. There were laser shows synchronized to human music, with colors chosen to complement visual ranges. There was glow-in-the-dark face painting that enhanced rather than obscured the natural light. It turned out were extraordinary at the test your strength game. Their powerful upper appendages could swing the hammer so hard that the puck shot past the top bell every time. Human carnival workers had to redesign the game 3 times before it presented any challenge at all. They found this hilarious. They loved that the humans kept trying. And they became absolutely addicted to something called funnel cake. Funnel cake was a simple thing. Batter was poured through a funnel into hot oil, creating twisted shapes that were then coated in powdered sugar. It had no nutritional value. It made a tremendous mess. They could not get enough of it. Ambassador Al later wrote in her personal journal that the image of the High Council, their robes covered in powdered sugar, arguing over whose funnel cake had the best shape, was the moment she knew the carnival would change everything. The next major carnival was held on the methane-rich moons of the collective. This presented unique challenges. The methane breathers normally had to wear environmental suits whenever they interacted with oxygen-breathing species. They had never experienced a carnival or any galactic festival without the barrier of protective equipment between them and everyone else. Human engineers spent 8 months designing an enclosed carnival environment where humans wore the environmental suits instead. For the first time in history, the methane breathers could move through a celebration in their natural state while the visitors adapted to them. The effect was profound. The methane breathers discovered they had a particular talent for the ring toss game. Their multiple appendages allowed them to throw with precision that humans could not match. They won prize after prize, decorating their homes with stuffed earth animals they did not fully understand but found delightful anyway. But more importantly, they experienced what it felt like to be comfortable in a shared space. The humans sweating in their suits, struggling to eat modified corn dogs through helmet feeding ports, never complained. They just laughed about it and kept playing games. The methane breather ambassador later reported to the authority that this single carnival had done more for diplomatic relations than 50 years of formal negotiations. Then came the crystalline hegemony. The hegemony seemed like an impossible venue. The crystalline species valued harmonic perfection above all else. Their entire civilization was built on precise frequencies and mathematically pure resonance. Chaos was not just uncomfortable for them, it was spiritually distressing. Human carnival designers studied the problem for months. They noticed something important. Crystalline children, before they underwent their species coming of resonance ceremony, displayed the same chaotic joy that human children did. They wanted to run without purpose. They wanted to spin until they were dizzy. They wanted to consume excessive sugar and make decisions they would regret. The first crystalline carnival focused entirely on youth. There were gentler rides with predictable rhythms. There were games designed for young crystalline appendages. There was a special quiet zone where overwhelmed children could retreat and process their experiences in peace. It was a modest success. The young crystallines loved it. Their parents watched nervously but did not intervene. Then something unexpected happened. On the final night of the carnival, an elderly crystalline approached the entrance. She was one of the harmonic elders, beings of such perfect resonance that they rarely interacted with other species at all. Her presence at a carnival was unthinkable. The human carnival workers did not know the proper protocol. They did not know they were supposed to be intimidated. So they simply welcomed her as they welcomed everyone. They offered her cotton candy. They pointed out which rides had the shortest lines. They asked if she wanted someone to explain how the games worked. The elder spent 2 hours walking the midway. She observed everything. Her expression was unreadable. Then she got in line for the bumper cars. The bumper cars were small electric vehicles designed to crash into each other. There was no point to the activity except the crashing itself. Children screamed and laughed as their cars collided. The elder climbed into a car designed for beings half her size and spent 15 minutes ramming into other vehicles with what witnesses later described as focused joy. When she emerged, her harmonic frequency was off-key for the first time in 2 centuries. Other crystallines could hear it. The dissonance should have been shameful. She did not seem ashamed. She made a pronouncement that was broadcast across the entire hegemony. We have forgotten what it is to be imperfect together. These humans remember for us. The following cycle, the crystalline hegemony quadrupled their carnival booking. What nobody had predicted was how the carnival would evolve through alien participation. The humans had created something, but they had not locked it in place. They had left room for growth. They introduced synchronized crowd glow to the nightly fireworks shows. Thousands of bodies would pulse in rhythm with the explosions overhead, creating a living light show that made human visitors weep with its beauty. Methane breather engineers proposed ride modifications that enhanced safety while allowing for more extreme experiences. Their understanding of pressure dynamics led to improvements that human engineers adopted across the entire circuit. A crystalline composer created what became known as the Carnival Harmonic, a musical piece specifically designed to capture the chaotic joy of the midway in mathematically complex frequencies. It was played at the opening of every carnival across the circuit from then on. And the humans absorbed every contribution with genuine enthusiasm. That was perhaps their strangest gift. They did not see alien improvements as changes to their tradition. They saw them as additions. The carnival was not meant to be preserved exactly as it had always been. It was meant to grow. By the end of the 5th cycle, attendance records showed something unprecedented. The human carnival circuit was not just the most popular event on the galactic calendar. It was the only event that drew significant attendance from every registered species. Every other festival, no matter how beautiful or ancient, attracted primarily its host species and a scattering of tourists. The carnival drew everyone. No one fully understood why, but everyone felt it. Part 3. The crisis began in Cycle 47, and it began with good intentions. A coalition of older species had watched their ancient festivals decline as the carnival's popularity grew. The symphony of bioluminescence now drew half the attendance it once had. The crystalline resonance gatherings were mostly attended by elders who remembered the old ways. The methane breathers' fog sculptures had been rescheduled 3 times to avoid conflicting with carnival dates. These species had contributed to galactic culture for thousands of years. They had preserved traditions through wars and disasters and the slow erosion of time. And now, a species that had barely figured out space travel was eclipsing everything they had built. The coalition petitioned the festival authority to reclassify humanity's contribution. The carnival, they argued, was not a true cultural celebration. It was a commercial enterprise. Its adaptive nature meant it had no authentic tradition worth preserving. Its deliberate imperfection was an insult to the refined aesthetics that the festival circuit was meant to showcase. It should be removed from the calendar entirely, or at least demoted to minor status. The legal challenge worked its way through authority arbitration for 3 full cycles. During that time, the carnival continued to operate, but something had changed. The joy felt fragile now, defensive. Human carnival workers who had always been welcoming and open now seemed to carry a quiet hurt. The arbitration's final hearing was held on Nexus Station, the festival authority's headquarters. Representatives from 400 species gathered in the main council chamber. Every major media platform in the galaxy sent coverage teams. The chamber had been built to emphasize the dignity and wisdom of ancient civilizations. Its soaring architecture and perfect acoustics seemed designed to make the human delegation feel small. Santos, now elderly but still wearing sequins, spoke for humanity. What she said became known as the Carnival Defense. It would be taught in diplomatic academies for centuries to come. "You are right," she began, surprising everyone in the chamber. "The carnival is not ancient. It does not have 12,000 cycles of unbroken tradition. We humans have only been doing this in one form or another for maybe 500 of your standard cycles. By galactic standards, we are bobbies." The coalition representatives shifted in their seats. This was not the defense they had expected. "And yes, we change it," continued. "We change it constantly. The carnival my grandmother ran was not the carnival I inherited. The carnival my granddaughter will run will not be the one I am passing down to her. We add things that work. We drop things that do not. We steal ideas shamelessly from anyone who will let us, and quite a few who would prefer we did not." She paused and looked around the chamber at the representatives of species, whose cultures stretched back to before humanity had learned to make fire. "But here is what I have learned in 47 cycles of watching aliens discover what we already knew. That constant change is exactly why it works." She activated a holographic display that showed attendance data from across the circuit. Not just numbers, but stories. There was the adolescent who had overcome their species' natural isolation by joining a human carnival crew. They had learned to run the cotton candy booth. They had made friends with humans who could not glow. They had taught those humans to appreciate bioluminescent beauty in return. There was the crystalline elder who now returned every cycle, her harmonic resonance cheerfully imperfect, to ride the wheel. She brought young crystallines with her and told them it was acceptable to be joyfully off-key sometimes. There was the methane breather engineer who had developed 6 new ride patents, all of which he had donated to the circuit freely. When asked why, he had said, "The carnival gave me something I cannot repay." "Your ancient festivals are beautiful," said. "They are achievements. They are testaments to what your civilizations have built over thousands of years. I have attended many of them. I have been moved by all of them." She turned to face the coalition representatives directly. "But they are finished, complete. There is nothing left for anyone else to add. The symphony of bioluminescence is perfect, and that means there is no role for a non in making it better. The resonance gatherings have reached their ultimate form, and that means outsiders can only watch and admire. The chamber was completely silent. "The carnival is not finished," said. "It never will be. It is a living thing, and it grows because everyone who touches it becomes part of it." She gestured at the holographic display. "That methane breather engineers ride patents. They are carnival now. The crystalline harmonic that plays at every opening ceremony, carnival. The glow dance that happens every night during the fireworks, carnival. These are not changes to something human. They are additions from everyone to something that belongs to everyone." She lowered her voice, but the chamber's perfect acoustics carried every word. "You want to know what makes the carnival human? It is not the corn dogs. It is not the wheel. It is not the games that are rigged against you or the rides that make you scream." She spread her arms wide, as if embracing the entire galaxy. "It is this. We made something specifically designed to have room for you, all of you, forever. That is what humans do. We build things that others can add to. We create traditions that others can join. We throw parties that anyone can attend." She sat down. The arbitration panel deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, their ruling was unanimous. The human carnival circuit would retain its position on the calendar. More than that, it would be designated the official closing celebration of each galactic festival year. This position recognized not its superiority to other festivals, but its unique function as a gathering point for everyone, everywhere, regardless of species or tradition. It was the perfect ending, and also the perfect beginning of what came next. The coalition that had brought the challenge surprised many by accepting the ruling gracefully. Their lead representative, an archivist who had initially been the most vocal critic, gave an interview after the decision. "I attended the carnival on Nexus Station during the deliberation," she admitted. "I went to confirm my objections. I went to gather evidence of cultural pollution and commercial exploitation. I went as a critic." She paused. "I left having won a stuffed earth creature called a teddy bear from a ring toss game I played for 3 hours. A human child taught me the optimal throwing technique. I do not know her name. I remember her completely." The carnival that followed the ruling was held on Nexus Station itself, for the first time ever. It was the largest in circuit history. Every species in the authority sent representatives. The wheel ran for 72 continuous hours without stopping. Humans and competed together in eating contests. Crystalline elders taught young methane breathers how to appreciate harmonic imperfection. Children of a dozen species ran through the midway together, their laughter mixing into something new and beautiful. At midnight on the final night, as fireworks painted the void of space in colors that had no names in any language, Ambassador Al stood at the highest point of the wheel. She had attended every carnival she could manage for 47 cycles. Her sensor fronds were now slower to react than they had once been, but they still rippled with joy when the rockets exploded overhead. Santos sat beside her in the compartment. Her sequined costume was tattered with age. Her smile had not dimmed at all. "You planned this," Al said. "From the very beginning, you knew what the carnival would become." Laughed. "We did not plan anything, Ambassador. We just invited everyone to the party and hoped they would bring something good." She reached into a bag at her feet and pulled out a caramel apple. It was a simple thing. A fruit coated in heated sugar on a wooden stick. It was messy. It was bad for you. It was ridiculous. Al had attended dozens of carnivals. She had tried cotton candy and funnel cake and corn dogs, but she had never eaten a caramel apple. Some part of her had held back. "I have been saving this experience," she said. "For what?" Al considered the question. "I am not certain. Perhaps I wanted something to look forward to." Held the apple out to her. "There will always be something to look forward to. That is what the carnival promises. Next year, someone will invent a new ride. Someone will create a new game. Someone will combine foods in a way no one has thought of before. It never ends." Al took the apple. She bit into it. The sweetness was overwhelming. The texture was strange. The experience was perfect in its imperfection. Below them, the midway lights spun and flashed. Species that had once been enemies shared bags of popcorn. Children who would someday lead galactic governments screamed together on roller coasters. Somewhere, a crystalline elder was teaching a human teenager to appreciate harmonic mathematics, and the teenager was teaching the elder to appreciate something called dubstep. It was chaos, it was beautiful, it was alive. "Thank you," Al said, "for inviting us to the party." Leaned back in her seat and watched the fireworks explode across the darkness of space. "Thank you for bringing something good." The wheel continued its slow rotation. Above the midway, the lights spun on. They always would, not because they were ancient or perfect or finished, but because there would always be someone new to add something wonderful. That was the human gift to the galaxy. A party that never ended, and a door that was always open.